Welcome, dear viewers. So this isn't nearly the longest amount of time that I've spent on an art project, period, but it is by far the longest I've done for a YouTube video where I recorded the whole thing, to the point where I'll probably have to delete the files once I export it here, because it takes up so much memory space. But yeah, I've been doing a couple of drawings kind of for myself, and so I just decided to record this one, even though I'd never done anything like it before, for YouTube. Well, it wasn't for YouTube, but it was something I was planning on doing, and then at the last moment, I decided to record it. And I think it turned out really well, but because I spent a lot of time on it. It has been a little bit, so I guess it's a miniature event from the channel, because I've been very busy lately. So without further ado, the drawing process. Oh, and just a quick warning, actually, is there shouldn't be any flashing, but because of how long it took, it is going really fast. So I guess just a warning for that. It shouldn't hurt anyone's eyes, but I guess it might be a possibility. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, this was a pretty big project, way bigger than the YouTube ones. I think the largest one I did was the Wampus redo, which was less than 2 hours, and this one was over 4 hours, which, I mean, I've easily dropped probably over 30 hours in art pieces before, but usually the YouTube ones, they're kind of snippy. And yeah, altogether, this one was like over 30 gigabytes. So I'll probably be deleting the files, because I actually have a physical print of the finished product and the digital image. I really liked how it ended. So yeah, I was doing the whole shebang, and so I started in Artrage, and I actually end up doing the later edits in Sketchbook that you'll see, because I like the kind of painterly view that Artrage gives when I use their paintbrushes, especially when I have a lot of time to use on them. And so I started out with my pencil sketches, and since I like to use a lot of highlights, I don't like keeping white as my background, so I use a dark blue before I filled it in later on with the actual background. And obviously I want my pencil to show up in the color scheme, and so I wasn't using a lot of yellows, so I decided to use the yellow for that and sketching it out. And as you might have guessed from the title of the video, it's an Amphibian Family, so it's an axolotl dad and a chocolate frog mom and a little tadpole baby. I was going to draw my first idea was I was going to draw a slightly bigger family. So I was going to have like a boy and a girl who was a newt and a salamander. But when I actually started composing the image, it seemed a bit much. And I like how it looks with 3 families. And I definitely wanted the tadpole kid. And then I was going to do like a little baby carriage, whether it was like a submersible one, or whether I just draw a baby carriage with a fishbowl out of it. But then I just went with a fishbowl, and I mean, I don't draw a belt on the dad, so it kind of looks like the fishbowl's just floating in the ether. But I guess in my headcanon, even though there's nothing to suggest that, I think the fishbowl's attached to the dad since they're moving on land, and kind of want to keep track of that kind of thing. And I don't know why I wanted to give them hats. That was kind of a split-second decision before I started the drawing. And I was thinking of doing like this crazy bright color scheme, but then something really caught my eye about the chocolate frog in particular. But then I add a little bit. You can see subtly, at least from the image, that I was mostly looking at, even though I looked at a couple ones to see possible different angles that I could use. There were some subtle blues in there, which I over-exaggerate, and then I over-exaggerate the pinks and the oranges so it looks less brown and more colorful. Which is usually how I do things when I do actual art pieces. Is I rarely do this huge bombastic color scheme, but I usually start from something that's somewhat realistic, and then I build upon its natural attributes to boost them. So I'll make a more dramatic lighting, or I may make a sharper distinction in areas to make an outline, even if I'm not directly outlining the piece. Or just making more contrasts. Like this one, I was going to do a clearer parallax, which is when all of the different layers are clearly separated. Like, just say if you have lines of trees, and you have a far back layer, and then a middle layer, and then a front layer that's clearly defined, usually with minimal shading, except for possibly the front layer, because it's been used a lot in video games and animations when there isn't a ton of texture or 3D imaging. It's just a very easy way to instantly capture the feeling of space and atmosphere, hence the term atmospheric perspective. And I kind of blocked out 3 basic parts, but really it's just the branch that Mama Frog's on, and then the other branch in front of the dad, and then he's kind of just in the middle of a dubious swamp ground, kind of up for interpretation. I really was going for the aesthetic there instead of a kind of a storyline or anything to go along with it, which is good. I mean, that's what I was going for. Not everything has to be like, well, speaking of which, I need to get back on my story. I always get caught up in so most of the time my problem is, oh, well, I've decided to do this idea, and now I want to do another idea. And then it clashes, and I either do none or I do a tiny bit of both. So I need to stick with what I'm doing, rather than just solely motivation. But I definitely had motivation problems where I go, it starts with a day, and then it continues on, where it's just like, yeah, I'll just get a rest, and then rest for the week, and then continue. And then before I know it, it's been months since I've touched the project. But I always appreciate pieces. I used to, as a kid, it would like almost disappoint me when I would work on something different. It was like, it almost felt like a defeat. But I don't think that way anymore. At the very least, it would be considered practice. But I mean, honestly, my best stuff has either been random commissions that I've gotten in an interim that then turn out better than I thought, or just random ideas that I roll with, and then I'm like, oh wow, okay. that went somewhere, and I was ready to go. And I kind of just lost my train of thought with the hats. The hat was kind of a last minute decision, and I just really like the early 20th century look, specifically for hats. And this around the time that I switched to Sketchbook, and so I don't mess with any of the painterly aspects, but I go in with the pen tool, which helps me to add in the detail and then all the highlights. And it's honestly not like, I don't know, when I was doing it, it seems like it just went by super quickly in like 10 minutes when it was actually closer to half an hour. But once all the highlights and stuff are added, it feels like such a world of difference. It's all about contrast. Yeah, something about like, it's the subtlety of it. And I love drawing suits and tuxedos. They just look cool. I don't care who it is. I'll put them in tuxedo. Dragon person, put them in tuxedo. But I do love, like, I want to try to incorporate all different kinds of clothing, because I'll look at stuff and be like, oh, well, that looks really cool, and then I won't take it for reference, or I won't ever use it, and that's kind of a waste. But yeah, as you can probably see, it's coming together now. I added a little something special to, especially the mom frog's eyes. I'm really proud of how that looked out because I just kind of went on it. Not wasn't really apparent in the picture, but I just kind of went freeform, and I really like how it turned out. And in a second here, yeah, here is the unobstructed final image. And I'm very proud of this one. I'm very I mean, there are a couple pictures that I've been proud of, but like the last couple ones that I've done digitally, especially, I've dumped so many hours, like tens of hours, multiple days. But this one, I just kind of hopped on, cranked out in 4 hours. Yeah, it's all about contrast. It's all about planning, and I 100% recommend references. I used a ton of references for this one, and it's always cool. And it usually comes up with something new. Even if you just have 2 references matched together, more than likely it will not have been done before. Thank you to my patron, the Abyss Acolyte, Dr. Von Kaiti, who just made Twitch affiliate, which is very exciting for us. And yeah, I'm always thankful for the support, and any support that can be given, even if it's just a like or subscribe, would be nice. And I really hope you enjoyed this video, because I really enjoyed making and the finished product of this video. I think it's the best thing I've done on the channel yet. So until next time, viewers.